Hello again YouTube, welcome to my channel. I'm Promethea, the Tyrannosaurus girl. The question I'm answering today is, why did you choose the name Promethea? I want to preface this by saying that the experience trans people have with their names is usually very different from that of cisgender people. Cisgender people are usually stuck with the name that they were given at birth, but transgender people have the possibility of choosing their own name. We don't always stick with the first name that we choose. We sometimes try it on for size. For some reason, it doesn't feel like the right name, so we may change it even several times until we finally find the name that we feel identifies us and represents us correctly. Some transgender people who have their parents alive and present, they ask them to give them their new name, or even what name they would have given them had there been assigned the correct gender at birth. But that's not always possible, and sometimes parents who are expecting don't even think about two possible names. They just name their child after they are born. So in my case, Promethea is not the first feminine name I took. When I first started looking into these gender issues and I started presenting as a woman in some specific circles before I was full-time, I used to have a different name that I have taken that I don't feel like revealing right now, but eventually the book Promethea got into my hands. Promethea, for those of you that don't know, is a graphic novel by Alan Moore. It's an amazing book. There's even a link in the description to an eBay search where you can buy it. It's totally worth a read, and it's a very interesting book. It has a superhero history, but it's mixed with philosophy, and it's kind of like an introduction to Tarot and Kabbalah, and it also has some elements of chaos magic as well. So in this fiction, Promethea is a little girl. She's the daughter of a wizard who is attacked by enemy soldiers, and so he tells her to escape, to run away into the desert, that she is going to be safe. Lost in the middle of the desert, she meets a double god. She meets Thoth Hermes, who tells her that he can save her but not in this material reality. So he invites her to go with him to the immaterial, where she's not going to be a little girl anymore, she's going to be a story, and as a story she will be able to come back and visit this material reality if she catches the minds and the imaginations of people. And then Alan Moore tells us how she appears at several points in human history, from ancient Egypt to modern age, always being incorporated into either an artist, a writer, a painter that creates something in relation to Promethea or in someone of their environment. And depending on the person that she is possessing, she plays a different role specific to that point in history. And most of the story of the book is focused on Promethea in modern age. The story takes place a few months before the date that the Mayas gave as the end of the world. And well, I can tell you without really spoiling anything that the role this Promethea has is to be the bringer of the apocalypse, but it's not the apocalypse as the end of the world, you know, meteorites and earthquakes and stuff, but simply the removal of the veil from in front of the eyes is the opening of consciousness. It's the beginning of a new awareness, it's an enlightenment. Of course, Alan Moore's choice of that name for his character is inspired by Greek mythology, specifically by the myth of Prometheus. Prometheus was the titan that stole fire from the gods and brought it to humanity, who until then lived in darkness. So as you can see, the symbolism behind the myth and the book are deeply related. And that is what really captivated me from this character, because that is what, in some form or another, I've always been trying to do in my life. I feel like it is part of my mission in this life. I try to do a bit of that in every interaction I have with somebody, and through my work I try to give something to the person, to bring some light to them, to try to enhance their awareness, their consciousness. But because I already had a feminine name, I didn't even think of taking the name Promethea for me. But I practiced chaos magic, so I started using the name Promethea in rituals. But eventually I felt more and more identified with this name, and so when the time came for me to start living full-time as a woman, I decided to take that name. when I came out to my parents before making the big announcement public to the rest of the family and the rest of the people in my life that didn't know, I did ask them if they had thought of another name for me, and they told me that they never thought of any names for their children before they were born, so they had no name for me, and so that confirmed for me that my name was going to be Promethea. But taking the name Promethea was not an easy decision, because the name itself is a very strong name. It has a very intense resonance, it has a strong energy, and it's very uncommon. I had to really think if I went to have such a name, but eventually I realized that I am like that. I have a very intense presence and I tend to attract people's attention anyway. So I decided that it really was the right name for me. Probably now, when I'm finally able to legally change my name, I'm going to ask them for a middle name. So that's how I got to have the name Promethea. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so that you can receive new videos every Friday. I also want to invite you again to leave me your comments and especially your questions. Remember, this is a questions channel, so no questions are going to offend me or make me feel bad in any way. Hit me with any question, with anything that you want to know, anything that you're curious, that you're interested about, and I will answer it in a future video. So again, thank you for watching and see you again next Friday. Bye bye!